わしがこの手で叩き切る。
Hello everyone, it's Captain Havoc, and today we're going to be ranking the top 10 strongest Bankai in Bleach. Now, strongest is a very broad term. If I was to rank this list by pure strength or power alone, then this list would be pretty much straightforward. But when it comes to ranking Bankais, every aspect should be considered. Not just power, but the versatility, the benefits, and the drawbacks of a Bankai. Each one being not only unique in these categories, but also different. This list was pretty tough to make, and I honestly think most of these Bankais could be argued to go higher or lower. Each one is just so close in either power or versatility. But I did try my best, and at the time of recording this video, these are what I believe to be the top 10 strongest Bankai in Bleach. If you guys haven't seen part 1 yet, where I ranked every Bankai in this series from numbers 21 through 11, then please be sure to check that video out first before you watch this one. This video will have major spoilers for the Thousand Year Blood War anime, so if you're an anime only fan and haven't read the Thousand Year Blood War manga, then please click off this video now and come back once you've watched or read the Thousand Year Blood War arc. And before we get into the video, a word from our sponsor. Now, if you guys are anything like me and enjoy watching anime but are always iffy about a lot of these anime sites with all these pop-ups and hyperlinks and whatnot, you want to make sure that your device is protected. You can do just that with atlasvpn. atlasvpn is more than your average VPN. It blocks all malicious links so that no one can try and steal your data and information, making it so that you can browse or watch whatever you want safe and stress-free. So you definitely want to pick this up if you watch anime or if you're just browsing the internet. Sooner rather than later, because they actually have a special going on right now where atlasvpn Premium is just $1.83 per month with 3 months free. It's super easy to use, and all you have to do is select whatever country you want to be in, and just like that, you're connected in one click. This works on PC and mobile, so you can make sure you're secure on the go with unlimited devices to protect. Whether you're looking for something on Google or streaming one of your favorite shows, atlasvpn is the route to take. You can get atlasvpn Premium right now for just $1.83 per month with 3 months for free and a 30-day back money guarantee. Click the link in the description below to grab this limited time offer. Thank you atlasvpn for sponsoring this video, and I hope you guys enjoy. Starting off our list is already a very contentious placement. At number 10 is Kenpachi Zaraki's unnamed Bankai, which probably was the most unexpected Bankai reveal in Thousand Year Blood War. Upon activation, Zaraki's Bankai releases a massive surge of energy, powerful enough to destroy the surrounding area. In this form, Zaraki resembles an Oni because of his red complexion, black markings on his face, and the horns coming from his forehead. His Zanpakuto no Zarashi also changes in appearance to a shorter, more jagged, cleaver-like sword. This Bankai is really the only one that alters the wielder's state of mind and body, and because of this, Kenpachi becomes a mindless berserker that can't comprehend reason. In Bankai, Kenpachi gains a tremendous increase to his physical strength and cutting power, which kinda goes with his whole theme of being able to cut through anything. His Shikai is able to destroy a meteor that was going to destroy the entire Soul Society with a single blow, so I have no doubt his Bankai can truly just cut about anything. We have seen him do some crazy things, like he was able to cut through and cut in half Gerard and his shield with a single attack, something not even his Shikai could do before. He also bit off Gerard's entire arm, like the amount of jaw muscles he has to have in order to do that is insane. Unfortunately, this Bankai does have major drawbacks that prevents it from going higher on the list despite its unmatched cutting power. First off, if Kenpachi releases too much of his Bankai's power, his body will literally break under the pressure. We see this when he prepares his sword for an attack against Gerard, and because he released too much power, his arm actually breaks in half. Lastly, because of his berserker-like state, Kenpachi becomes this mindless beast with no regards for anyone, and Byakuya kinda confirms this when he tells Hitsugaya not to go near Kenpachi. I like to think that Kenpachi's Bankai turns himself into the purest form of battle instinct. He doesn't need strategy or fancy tricks. He's just given immense power and an innate ability to always make the most efficient move in the moment. Just peak raw instinct, power, and fighting talent with the trade-off of critical thought. I do think that once he masters his Bankai and overcomes the issues and drawbacks it has, I could definitely see the Bankai ranking in the top 5. Next on the list at number 9 is Toshiro Hitsugaya's Bankai Daiguren Hyorimaru, the strongest snow and ice Zanpakuto and one of the most versatile Bankais in this series, but also infamously known for not being able to kill anyone. Toshiro has fought not 1, not 2, but 7 people using his Bankai, and unfortunately it hasn't been able to kill anyone except Xiaolong. Despite this, Toshiro's Bankai is actually quite formidable. The reason it looks to lack real killing power could be due to the fact that the Bankai is not fully matured because of Hitsugaya's age. It also could be due to Hitsugaya holding back in a lot of his fights for fear of killing his allies. The Bankai has numerous powerful techniques that allows Hitsugaya to fight opponents way stronger than he is for long periods of time, like we see in his fight against Tyr Haribel and God-sized Gerard. Something people don't realize is that Hitsugaya's Bankai has incredible range to it. We know he can cover at least 12 kilometers with his Zanpakuto, which is a little over 7 miles, which is insane. We don't get to see him demonstrate this a lot, but we do get to see Hitsugaya stopping part of an entire city from falling and casually freezing Gerard's arm from buildings away. So I originally had this Bankai a lot higher than number 9, but I think the fact that his Bankai is still immature due to his age holds him back since he can't just enter his completed Daiguren Hyorimaru form, or what the fandom likes to call it, his adult form. It used to be thought that when the flower petals behind Hitsugaya disappear, his Bankai would end. But in his fight against Gerard, we see this is not the case. Hitsugaya is limited to using his Bankai for no more than 12 minutes, and after those 12 minutes have passed and the flower petals have disappeared, the Bankai forces Toshiro to age, which allows him to use his completed Bankai, Daiguren Hyorimaru. This form is one of my favorites in this series, and its power is no joke. In this form, Toshiro is capable of flash freezing just about anything. He casually freezes Gerard's shield that's thrown at him with a simple hand gesture. And the most terrifying thing is that anything he freezes will have all of his functions and abilities negated. And we get to see this when Toshiro cuts in half and flash freezes Gerard's Sword of Hope. Hitsugaya's completed Bankai form is insanely powerful, and if this was his default Bankai, it would have ranked a lot higher, but because he has to wait 12 minutes during a battle in order to use it, forces me to put his Bankai at number 9 on the list. Coming in at number 8 on the list is Shunsui Kyoraku's Bankai, Katen Kyokatsu Karamatsu Shinju, one of the more deadly and terrifying Bankai on the list. When activated, a large aura emits around Shunsui, and this aura can be felt from miles away. This aura changes others' perception of the surrounding environment, making them perceive it as darkened, bleak, and gloomy, and causes them to feel levels of chills and despair. Just releasing this Bankai stopped people like Ichigo and Asuka in their tracks, and both even broke out in a cold sweat, which I think is just a testament of the Bankai's power. This Bankai forces anyone within its range to play by its rules, and it uses acts or plays instead of children's games like its Shikai. This play consists of 4 acts. With the first act, Shunsui and his opponent share their wounds. Any wounds they inflict on each other will emerge on the other's body as well. The second act inflicts a deadly illness on the one who attacks their opponent. I think this actually explains why Shunsui himself was never inflicted with this illness, unlike Lie, because he never attacked Lie once he activated his Bankai. This Bankai is based off of an old Japanese story about a man who wounded his partner and commits suicide as a result of the toxic relationship. And after wounding his partner, the man does collapse in shame and is inflicted with an illness, so it makes sense why only Lie was inflicted with the illness. This is just my interpretation, of course, of the second act, and I could totally be wrong, but it's made pretty clear that everyone is forced to play by the rules of the Bankai. The third act engulfs both Shunsui and his opponent in a massive amount of water, similar to a deep ocean. Both cannot escape, and the act constantly drains their Ryatsu, and the one who runs out first drowns and dies. It's implied that if Shunsui can't finish off his opponent with the third act, he has to use the fourth and final act of the Bankai, which is pretty brutal. After sheathing his swords, Shunsui wraps a white thread around his opponent's throat multiple times, causing the neck to be severed and then destroyed by blowing it up. The fourth act does seem to be an instant when attack for Shunsui with no real conditions unlike the other acts, unless of course you have ways to survive it like regeneration. This Bankai is insane, and if I was ranking this on just power and hacks alone, then this Bankai would at least be in the top 5. But when it comes to risk and drawbacks, this Bankai is probably the worst one on the list. Not only does Shunsui and his opponent have to follow the rules of the Bankai, but anyone within their range of the Bankai has to, meaning Shunsui could kill each and every one of his allies that are around him. His Zanpakuto is also very moody, so it will only allow Shunsui to use its full abilities when it's in the mood to do so. All of this forces Shunsui's hand to where he can't always use his Bankai. I've seen theories that Shunsui is actually supposed to die when using this Bankai because of the whole double suicide theme of the Bankai, but since Lie didn't die, Shunsui didn't die either. This is a very weird Bankai that I still to this day see different interpretations of. It's extremely powerful but also very inconvenient, but I think this is a safe spot for it on the list. Number 7 on the list is Kisuke Urahara's Bankai, Kanenbaraki Berehime Aratame. This Bankai is not only one of the most unique, but also what I consider to be the ultimate support Bankai. Kisuke's Bankai allows him to deconstruct and reconstruct anything within its range for offensive and supportive purposes. Using this ability allowed Kisuke to bring his dead eyes back to life, so this power can be used as some form of healing. He can also use this power to make his arm physically stronger, and it works on living and non-living things, such as when he opened up a hole within Askin Skipball Deluxe. This Bankai does seem like he can do just about anything, and with Kisuke's intelligence he probably could, but I do think a few things holds this Bankai back a lot. The Bankai has a very limited range to it, and if anyone was to move outside of its radius, any changes made to their body will revert back to normal, as we see with Askin. The effects of his Bankai do seem to be temporary and only last as long as the Bankai is still active. If the Bankai is released, then all the changes made to it will revert back to normal, which is apparent when we see Kisuke's stitches bleeding and opening back up. But it's also totally possible that the only reason Kisuke's stitches opened back up was because of how weakened he was. I have seen a theory that the reconstructive ability his Bankai uses is a different ability from the one that allows him to make surgical cuts in space. As we know, the reconstructive ability has a very limited range, but when he uses the surgical cuts in space, it could reach several city blocks away, which is interesting. It allows someone to travel through the cuts in space so that they can get through barriers or whatever it is. There is still so much we don't know about this Bankai, and because of it, it makes it so hard to rank it so high. Despite how versatile the Bankai seems to be, it does lack range and attack power, but I do think it's probably the ultimate support, buff, and debuff Bankai in the series. Coming in at number 6 is one of my favorite Bankais in this series, Byakuya Kuchiki's Bankai, Zenbon Sakura Kageyoshi. The millions and millions of blades generated from this Bankai allows Byakuya to perfectly fight offensively and defensively. The power and versatility behind these blades are so impressive to the point where Byakuya could take on 5 Sternbirders at once without getting a single scratch. The Bankai has 3 main stages, Senkei, Gokei, and Shuken Haku Teiken, and presumably has other techniques within those stages. We see one of these techniques in the Senkei stage, and it's called Ika Senjinka. This technique allows Byakuya to attack his opponent with all of the Senkei blades at once. He calls it the ultimate technique, and I don't think most could survive the attack, especially considering it completely destroyed Jirard's head. Now I have Byakuya's Bankai ranked above other Bankais like Kisuke's and Shunsui's due to how efficiently the Bankai can be used and the lack of drawbacks it has. When I think of someone who has mastered and perfected their Bankai, I think of Byakuya Kuchiki. His Bankai is extremely refined, and he is someone who has dedicated himself to mastering his Bankai by recognizing the strengths and weaknesses of it. This Bankai has power, versatility, terrifying speed, and lacks any major drawbacks, which I feel grants it this spot on the list. Coming in at number 5 on the list is Soya Azashiro's Bankai, Urazakuro. For those of you who don't know, Azashiro was the 8th Kenpachi in the Spirits Are Forever With You novels. He has one of the most unique Bankais because his Zanpakuto is always in its Bankai state. Azashiro's Bankai grants him a very simple ability to be able to fuse with anything. This could be the air, a person, or just fusing with the surrounding reishi itself. Whether it's living or non-living, organic or inorganic, physical, mental, or even spiritual, all are subjected to the Bankai's influence. Azashiro has pushed this single Bankai ability beyond its limits by creating new and more advanced ways to use this ability. And because of this, he has developed numerous amounts of deadly abilities. Just by merging with the air allows Azashiro to do some ridiculous things. He can become invisible, intangible, so that no one can attack or harm him. He can fly around and teleport to any distance, and he can also expand the air in someone's lungs, which would suffocate and kill them. He also is one of the only people who is immune to Kyokai Suigetsu. Since Azashiro is fused with the air, he would be constantly touching Kyokai Suigetsu, which is one of the only ways of nullifying the hypnosis. Not to mention that being fused with the air allows him to hear and see everything from all angles. If Azashiro fuses with a person, he can inflict internal injuries such as destroying their internal organs and destroying them from the inside. This ability is called Seitai Yugo, and he used this ability to kill the 7th Kenpachi, Kurosaki. There seriously is a lot more abilities and things I could name that Azashiro's Bankai could do. At some point in the past, he was able to take out multiple captains that were sent after him, and he only surrendered when the Zero Division came down to stop him. It's really insane to think about and really should tell you how powerful this Bankai is. It's definitely one of the most busted and hacks abilities in this series, but it also has a major weakness. The first weakness isn't too much of a big deal, but Azashiro can actually damage himself if he fuses with someone stronger than he is. The big thing is the Bankai's weakness to absorption types of attacks and abilities. As we know, Azashiro can fuse with anything made of reishi, so abilities that absorb reishi like Yumachika's Zanpakuto, Picard's absorbing ability, and even the Quincy's ability to absorb reishi to form their spirit weapons and arrows are extremely dangerous to Azashiro. Despite the massive weakness this Bankai has, I do think that its insane hacks is enough to put it this high on the list. Coming in at number 4 on the list is Ichigo Kurosaki's Bankai Tenza Zangetsu. Now, trying to figure out where to place Ichigo's Bankai was probably the hardest thing about this list. When Ichigo obtains his true Zanpakuto, he also gets a new Bankai, and we were all expecting Ichigo to use some new crazy ability. But instead of showing off Ichigo's new Bankai power, Kubo decides to make Yuha break it. Now, this is actually a very underrated moment that people don't understand, but after thinking about this for a long time, we actually already know the abilities of Tenza Zangetsu. Its incredible speed is one of, or if not the most dangerous thing about it. It takes all of Ichigo's spiritual energy and compresses it into a small condensed form, which Byakuya actually mocks back in the Soul Society arc when he calls Ichigo's Bankai small and not worthy of being a Bankai. Ichigo's speed and Bankai is something that is always talked about, and we always see him either overwhelming his opponents with this speed, or someone praising him because of his speed. Now, the main attacking ability of Tenza Zangetsu has always been the Getsuga Tensho. It absorbs Ichigo's spiritual energy and then releases a highly condensed spiritual energy attack at the tip of the blade. This is a very powerful ability that has been seen doing insane things like cutting a Soul King empowered Yuha in half. But many of you probably didn't know that the Getsuga Tensho actually has a very unique and insane ability to be able to cut or rip through reishi. During Candace's fight with Ginjo in Can't Fear Your Own World, Ginjo's Getsuga was said that it ripped through the very reishi in the air. If you guys didn't know, reishi is spirit particles, which makes up all spiritual things, like the bodies of hollows, soul reapers, and the planes of existence like Wakamundo and the Soul Society. This means that the Getsuga Tensho is able to impact down to the atomic level and bypass durability. It's literally destroying atoms, which is insane. I think the fact that Yuha feared Ichigo's Bankai enough to break it, the speed and cutting power of this Bankai, and the insane ability of the Getsuga Tensho is worthy enough of putting Tenza Zangetsu this high on the list, and you could totally argue it should go higher. Coming in at number 3 on the list is Mayuri Kurotsuchi's Bankai Konjujin Aki Soki Jizo, and the modified version of his Bankai Matai Fukin Shotai. So I've seen other Bankai rankings over the years, and the fact that Mayuri's Bankai doesn't make at least a top 5 in some people's rankings blows my mind. The main ability of the Bankai is to spew poison from the giant golden baby it produces. This poison is extremely lethal and it covers an area of almost 200 meters. It's almost impossible to avoid, and Mayuri is constantly changing the composition of the poison so that no antidote or immunity can be developed against it. Tokinata Tsuneyashiro is one of the smartest and most cunning characters in this series. During his battle with the Gotei, the Urankars, and the Fullbringers, Tokunada actually had a trump card that he was going to use if his plans didn't go the way he wanted them to. This trump card was a poison that rivaled Mayuri's Bankai poison in lethalness. The people in that area that Tokunada were going to kill with this poison if he needed to were the Gotei, Kenpachi, Hikone, Ginjo, and many others. It's pretty crazy to think about, and I think this just shows how dangerous Mayuri's Bankai poison is. Now, the real reason this Bankai is so high is because of its modified version, Matai Fukin Shotai. As long as Mayuri has information or data on his opponents, he can send this information to his Bankai, which allows the Bankai to counter just about anything. He did this in his fight against Pernida by sending information on Pernida to his modified Bankai, which gave birth to a giant baby that countered Pernida's ability. This modified Bankai is pretty unfair, and Tokunada basically hyped up Mayuri for having the best Bankai in the current Gotei 13. If you guys didn't know, Tokunada was the head of the visual department and he knew almost everything that has gone on in the story up until his death. He knew every Zanpakuto in the Soul Society, and the fact that he thought Mayuri's Bankai was the only serious threat to Hikone speaks volumes about this Bankai, and in my opinion, makes it worthy of this spot on the list. Coming in at number 2 on our list is Genryusai Yamamoto's Bankai, Zanka no Tachi. This terrifying Bankai has 4 stages to it, and it's arguably the strongest offensive Bankai in the series. The E stability of the Bankai concentrates the intense flames of the sword along the tip of the blade. It doesn't burn or erupt, but anything it touches is eradicated out of existence. The West ability engulfs Yamamoto's body in heat that reaches a temperature of 15 million degrees. He's basically a walking sun with an impenetrable defense. The South ability calls upon 10 trillion corpses and ashes of the dead who were killed by his flames to come forth and fight on his behalf. And the North ability is just a slash that disintegrates whatever it touches out of existence. This Bankai is practically unbeatable, but the intense heat it produces is a major drawback. Not a drawback for Yamamoto, but for those around him. If activated for too long, his Bankai can destroy the entire Soul Society and anyone around him because of the intense heat the Bankai produces. It's really unfair, and I see exactly why Aizen and Yuha avoided fighting this Bankai. It all around has the best offense and defense, and it totally could be argued to be at number 1. Number 1 on the list is Ichibe's Bankai Shirafude Ichimonji. This Bankai gives Ichibe the ability to change the name of his targets by writing kanji on their bodies. He essentially is altering the very existence of a person by changing their name. Once their name is changed, they take on the very characteristics, properties, and powers of said name. For example, if Ichibe writes Black Ant on your body, you would take on the characteristics of a black ant and would be as weak and powerless as one. He used the same power on Yuha and would have won if it wasn't for, Yuha cheating with the Almighty. This Bankai is quite fitting for someone who is considered to be the head of the Shinigami, and it's basically unbeatable unless you have the Almighty. I really had a hard time deciding if Yamamoto's Bankai should be at number 1 or Ichibe's. Both are broken and seem unbeatable, but I think the power to control actual concepts and names is a lot more overpowered and useful, especially since it doesn't seem to have any drawbacks. Alright everyone, that was my ranking of the top 10 strongest Bankai in Bleach. Let me know what you guys thought about the video. Would you put someone lower or higher, and if so, let me know down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, and join the Discord links in the description below, and till next time.